Welcoming back Dr. Mona Kumar, clinical psychologist. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, because we have to talk about this subject, stress management. Dr. Kumar, everyone is stressed out. There's no doubt, right?
Absolutely.
In fact, I called my friend the other day, and she literally was in her bed curled up. I go, what's up?
Yeah.
She says, the changes, Michelle, the changes. She just couldn't deal with the changes.
Right.
Because no one's life is the same.
Yes.
Right now. Very few people's lives are the same, right? So some people are working more, some people are working less, some people have no work at all,
right,
which means less money or no money coming in.
Right.
So how do we deal with the changes?
Right. And I think you made a great point. I think that we need to remember that the stress that we're all feeling is really twofold in nature. Yes, a big part of it is the health concern that this crisis is presenting for us and for our loved ones. You know, we're worried about getting sick. We're not sure who's going to get it. Mm-hmm. We're not sure how sick people are going to get, whether they're going to get better. There's so much uncertainty. So that is a major stressor, and I think we're all dealing with that. What is also happening, though, is that because of all the drastic changes that have been made, all the things that we would normally be doing that give us a sense of routine and regularity and rhythm to our days are no longer available to us in the way they once were. And
Absolutely.
Those are the very things that were helping us manage all of the stressors that we had prior to COVID. Mm-hmm. It's not like everything was perfect.
Some kind of stability.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Those were the things that were giving us a sense of stability, mm-hmm, and now they're not available to us in the way that they once were. So what's coming up for us now is not only the anxiety about getting sick, but also all the other stressors that were always there before, but now they're heightened because there aren't all those things that used to help to regulate and reduce them for us.
Okay, so what do you suggest? How can we regulate our chaotic lives at this time?
Yeah, so one of the things that might sound sort of counterintuitive is that it's really important to recognize and to acknowledge to ourselves and to others what a huge impact this whole health crisis is having. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes there's a temptation to downplay the impact or to look for the silver lining, to describe this as a vacation for some people, or, you know, here's an opportunity to spend more time with your kids. Isn't that great? And it is, but I think in doing so, we create a discrepancy between what we're feeling and what we're trying to convince ourselves that we're feeling. And that discrepancy actually heightens and increases our feeling of anxiety and stress. So I think it's really important to validate that this is a huge change, that we are all being significantly impacted. And once you do that, you create space for those feelings. You feel a sense of relief, the panic starts to subside, and you're better able to access those resources within you that give you the sort of the skills and the strength to act in a manner that's helpful to you.
Got it. So in other words, we need to face reality.
Yes.
And then we'll adapt.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
All right. Well, you know what? Let me ask you this. What about the people who are at home more, and now you're around the husband more, and now you're around, or the wife more, and then kids, they're home. Most places, actually, I think they've canceled school for the rest of the school year.
Yes.
And some kids are literally breaking down because they're realizing that they're not going to see their friends in person for a while.
Yeah.
So for those people who are in that situation, what advice do you have?
Yeah. So I think it's important to remember that it's with our loved ones that we often feel the most vulnerable, the most sensitive. It's there that some of our more deep-seated feelings of anxiety and fear and concern surface. So we're more likely to be reactive around the people that we're closest to. So just to be really kind to ourselves, to know that we're going to be sometimes on the receiving end of that and sometimes dishing it out, and to take a moment to recognize it, to give each other some space, and then know that we can come back to each other. Because what's so great about these intimate relationships is that not only do they, bring out sometimes these more sensitive, vulnerable sides of ourselves, but they also are a place where we can find comfort.
Okay, so it's okay if you have to go to another room for a little bit, or even outside for a little bit. Take a few minutes and then come back.
Take a time out. Just like we tell our kids that they need to do that sometimes, we do too.
Adults need time out as well.
Yeah.
All right, so what about the people who were, say, a little germaphobic before?
Yeah.
And so now we're dealing with a pandemic, and now maybe they're a little more germaphobic. For example, at home, my husband told me I'm getting on his nerves because I'm just Cloroxing everything. And at work, my boss told me, hey, go easy on the Clorox wipes. So for people like me who are now just thinking that the virus is everywhere,
right?
How do we deal with that?
Yeah. You know, this is so, you know, in some ways, you know, yes, we're having this global pandemic, so we're all being impacted by this. But how we're going to respond is going to vary from one person to the next. And what one person needs to feel safe is going to sometimes look very different from what another person needs to feel safe. And I think we need to allow for that. So, you know, for someone, maybe it's going to mean staying at home as much as possible, not going out, you know, wiping down their mail and their packages. And for other people, they're going to feel more, they're going to be okay with following sort of standard guidelines, maintaining 6 feet, social distance, and that's going to be okay for them. And so what we just need to recognize is that what works for one person might be different from what works for another, and to allow for everyone to find what makes them feel most comfortable during this time that we're all trying to navigate all this uncertainty.
So we all just have to be a little more patient and understanding.
That's right.
Of each other, and do what feels comfortable for us.
Yes.
Okay, so we need more Clorox wipes.
Yeah.
All right, any kind of practical advice? And is there an exercise that we can do to find balance in our lives at this time?
Well, it's interesting you should use the word balance, because I think that's a great way to put it. I think we need a little bit of everything, you know. We need some time to ourselves, you know, whether that means, you know, being in, you know, finding a space, reading, meditating, taking time out to just be on your own, but we also really need the social contact. So I think striking a balance between those times where you're taking care of yourself and giving yourself what you know you need, but also incorporating times where you're engaging with other people is a really good way to take care of ourselves. I think it's also really important to you know, I don't think we can look at this as a sprint. I really do think we need to look at this as a marathon. I mean, I think we were just saying that schools are now canceled, looks like for the rest of the year. You know, there isn't a clear end point in sight right now. So all those things that we would normally be doing that would help us in our day-to-day lives, we now need to look for other ways to, you know, comfort ourselves, to channel energy that we might have ordinarily directed elsewhere. So for example, let's say going to the gym was something that was, you know, a healthy outlet for you. It may be a while before the gyms open back up again, and what we need to do is find other ways to exercise, get some fresh air, use energy that then helps us feel more calm and more ready to proceed with the rest of our day. Okay,
so I want to circle back to the kids. Like I said, we have kids out there who are just, they're not doing well as far as the social distancing and not being able to see their friends in person. So any advice for parents to keep their kids happy and emotionally balanced at home?
Yes, well, I think, you know, I know when we were speaking last week about how to talk to your kids about COVID, one of the things that we talked about was the idea of maintaining structure. And I think kids really need that. They may not ask for it. They may even ask for the opposite of it, but they really do need it. They really do need to feel like there is still a schedule and a routine to the day. They still need to feel like they know what to expect, what's coming up next. And that might mean incorporating activities that they do with each other, that they do with you as their parents. A really helpful tool right now is to be able to have virtual play dates. So there are still going to be a lot of ways in which kids feel supported and safe, and like their world is still stable because of the ways in which we structure it.
Right, because you have kids.
I do.
Right?
I
and
do.
so are you doing a lot of virtual play dates?
We are almost daily.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that's great. You know, it's been a really good way for them to connect with their friends, and because they're all going through the same experience, not only do they get to, you know, have fun with each other, but they also get to their experience of being at home is normalized because they see that all their friends are going through the same thing as well.
That's great. Should we be focusing on the positive at this time?
Well, I think, as I was saying earlier, I think to try to force ourselves to see things as positive is a little.
Is it counteractive?
It's a little counteractive. Yeah. So I think, first of all, it's important to just recognize that there's been a huge change, and that each of us is being impacted differently by it. And once we allow that, then it opens up space to adapt to the reality that we are now living in, and be creative and find things that we may not have known that we, you know, are enjoying. But I think it starts by recognizing that our lives have been impacted.
Okay, so it could be like this. Maybe a person is home
Yeah.
more, right? And husband is home as well, or wife, right?
Yeah.
And you're stressed out because obviously there's no work.
Yeah.
But then, okay, face the fact that there's no work, and then now you're going to realize, but wait a minute, now we're home together more.
Yeah.
We can take advantage of this time together.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so acknowledgement first, for sure.
Acknowledgement first, and then, you know, recognize the opportunities that are there that weren't there before.
Okay. Dr. Kumar, if someone would like to talk to you, how can they reach you?
Of course, right now, our primary concern is our physical health, but in the midst of all this, our mental health is certainly being impacted. And the nice thing about therapy is that it can be done in person, and it can also be done virtually, whether it's through phone sessions or through teleconferencing. So when you're looking for a therapist, know that that is most likely an option that therapists will be offering, myself included. If you wish to reach me, you're welcome to contact me at my number, 626-737-6199, or my website, which is drmonakumar.com.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the information.
Thanks for having me.
Really timely.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. And don't forget to check out elsegundo.org for all the latest and accurate information on COVID-19.